Number 8, Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Building and Housing. How does he intend to reduce the shortfall of Auckland houses in the next 2 years, given that under this government it is increasing by 5,000 a year, and the Productivity Commission predicts that on current rates the shortfall, now 32,000, will hit 60,000 by 2020?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, we've lifted the house build rate in Auckland for the last 4 years by 20% or more every year, and that is the largest and longest sustained period of building rate increase in Auckland's history. We've achieved this by freeing up land and breaking the metropolitan urban limit, speeding up consenting, record numbers of new apprenticeships, a wide range of reforms on building materials, on infrastructure, on regulatory changes and government initiatives at places like Weymouth, like Hobsonville and Tamaki. I don't accept the member's interpretation of the Productivity Commission, but I'd also draw his attention to the construction pipeline report that I'll be releasing next week that shows very different figures to those that he is quoting.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why did he tell the media that he had consulted with Auckland iwi about his plan to develop vacant land, when official documents now confirm that he did not consult either Tainui or Ngāti Whātua before his announcement?
Mr. Speaker,
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the first right of refusal in Auckland is with the Tamaki Collective, not with Ngāti Whātua. And so the clear legal advice the Crown received was that the consultation should be with those that have an interest. In respect of the member's interjection with respect to Tainui, there's only a very small area of Auckland in which Tainui has a first right of refusal. The government has not identified any sites in that Tainui area where there are suitable housing developments. If we do identify suitable sites in that area, we certainly will be consulting with Waikato Tainui.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why won't he adopt the Australian policy of allowing non-resident foreign investors to only build new properties off the plan that a cross-party committee of the Australian Parliament recently reported was helping to reduce house prices?
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I note reports in the Sydney Morning Herald today that house prices in Sydney have gone up even faster than Auckland. And that is why this member's attack on people with Chinese-sounding names and overseas persons as though they are the problem is incorrect. The problem is a lack of supply, and that is why the government's putting its primary efforts into growing supply.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Which is the correct version of the government's position on a register of foreign property ownership? His statement that the government would release information showing how many non-residents have bought property and which jurisdiction they come from within 3 months, or Land Information Minister Louise Upston, who told the New Zealand Herald that it would not be a foreign buyer register and no decision had been taken about whether it would be publicly released.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure the member that the data provided by the government will be a lot more accurate than the dodgy Chinese-targeted attack that he did on one group of ethnic New Zealanders that most members of this House found abhorrent. Mr. Speaker, in respect of the data that will be collected with the bill that the government announced, the details of that are in the legislation. It is not a foreign buyer register, it is a tax record for non-residents taxpayers, and that information will be released when it is collected more accurately from the 1st of October.
Order. Supplementary question, Joanne Hayes.
To the Minister, does the Minister think the Auckland housing problem is caused by people with Chinese-sounding surnames, and if not, why not?
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, no. It is not the Kiwi way to target one ethnic group, let alone to judge people on their basis of their surnames. It would be as unfair to ask what is little about Mr. Little or whether Mr. Twyford's a twit.
Order. That's not... Order. Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Does he believe it is, quote, blaming the foreigner, unquote, for Beijing, Shanghai, Singapore, Malaysia and Hong Kong to have restrictions on non-resident property ownership to prevent investment from China overheating their housing markets? And if not, given that Dewey.com estimates $16 billion of investment from China is heading towards New Zealand real estate markets, when is he going to take that seriously?
There's too much in that question. The first part can be addressed.
Mr. Speaker, I have not noted the governments or political parties in China, in Malaysia or Indonesia collecting lists of people with Kiwi-sounding names and targeting us with their housing problems. I note that in Australia, where they have some restrictions, they haven't worked. I notice that in similar countries to New Zealand, like the UK, like the US, likes of Japan, there are no such limits. If we are going to put any rules in that place, we're going to do so on the basis of sound information, not the sort of dodgy, ethnically targeted information that the Labor Party now does for political opportunism.
Supplementary question, Joanne Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, what changes has this government made that reduce the attraction of residential property investment and which address the demand side of housing in Auckland?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, there's been 5 significant changes made by this government in that respect. The first is that we removed the power to be able to claim depreciation on buildings, a measure that costs building owners over $1 billion. The second change is the Bright Line test that was announced in the budget, the requirement to provide tax numbers and, if non-resident, an overseas tax number. The third change is the announcement of a non-resident withholding tax. A fourth change is the new Reserve Bank LVR limits that will mean from the 1st of October that those in property investment will have to have a minimum 30% deposit. I'd also note the changes of the government requiring insulation on older properties has a direct cost impact on those that invest in properties. All 5 of these measures do have a cost impact and a cooling effect on investment property.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Does he accept the advice of the Dominion Post, who said that his handling of the housing policy has been a mess, that it's more of an attempt to look busy than to solve the problem, that it's too hands-off and too small in scope?
Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I would love to read to the House the commentary on the botched attack on Chinese-sounding New Zealand names by over a dozen media, and not only that, the criticism from members of his own party that are embarrassed by the way that he has trashed the name of the Labor Party that has historically stood for a diverse New Zealand.
Well said.
Order. Order. The House. Order. Settle down. Question number